How's your leaky ceiling there, Tim?
Not leaky.
No more leaky?
No more leaky for the
No more leaky?
squeaky.
Squeaky.
Yeah, or something.
All right. Hello and welcome to Damon Patch Podcast, episode 498. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Tim
What a
Spence is
cold-
here.
What a cold open.
Yeah.
how's your leaky ceiling? Not leaking. All right. Sounds like time
Yeah.
for a podcast.
Yeah, let's roll. Matt's here.
I am.
Tim, you missed Adriano last week.
Damn.
He rose from the dead, showed up, and then fell asleep at the end of the show.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Jet lagged hard though. He's just back from Italy.
All right. Well, I guess we're Matt. You have a video game fun fact for us.
I do indeed, sir.
Take it away, Matt.
Wait, what? You just handed it to me right away?
Yeah. What else are we gonna do?
Well, this
Talk
one
to each other for a bit. Banter.
Yeah. This is a podcast after all.
No, we don't banter.
Well,
Oh,
friendly
We
back and
bantered
forth.
before the show. We ran out of banter.
Ah,
How many
Just
story
started
points was that
earlier.
banter worth?
2.
Oh,
that's
Is
not.
that bad?
That's not
I don't
worth
know.
it.
Wait, what are the units of story points?
I don't know. I think
Arbitrary.
it's like up to
Arbitrary units.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
10
I'm sure it is.
arbitrary units.
But
I need
I
a
think it's-
sci-fi that's like that's gonna cost 10 arbitrary units.
Isn't that kind of what the units
One
are?
quarter
In,
portion.
that's
yeah.
exactly what I was going to say. Simon Pegg and like the portion thing.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't all currencies technically arbitrary because they're all constructs?
But based on in society, based on something, based on a collective agreement of their value.
Yeah, exactly. Arbitrary.
To a point. I think when it starts, it's arbitrary. But then when society grows and everyone agrees, then it's no longer arbitrary. We've now all decided.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm obviously talking about the origin of it. Anyway, this
Yeah,
isn't the
yeah.
socioeconomics podcast.
Actually, fun fact, I believe one of the very first evidence of writing was a ledger keeping track of who owed money to who.
Tale as old as time.
Yep,
The more people change, the more they stay the same.
correct. Matt, take it away.
What? That's my intro. Well, this is a topic that Tim actually knows quite a bit about, but I wanted to learn a little bit about.
Nazi memorabilia.
Oh, Jesus, Murphy.
How did you know? My locker.
No, so I decided to learn a bit about speedrunning in the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Oh God.
So just, I mean, I didn't get like super into it for the sake of an audio show, because there's quite a bit of history, but I've gotten into
So much.
some key milestones that people have hit, a couple of community notes, the cultural impact, and just a bunch of other little things. So I wanted to start here with the origins of speedrunning on Ocarina of Time. So Ocarina of Time released in 1998, and speedrunning began in the early 2000s. Some of the first attempts were simple completion challenges without using any glitches or advanced techniques. And eventually, by the mid 2000s, players discovered the power of glitch exploitation, and the community began to shift more toward strategies that manipulated the game's mechanics. There are a bunch of different categories, which of course stemmed from this sort of like splintering of like, hey, you're just playing the game versus are you using glitches? Are you doing this and whatever? And there's sort of 3 major speedrunning categories, of which there are more than just this. Any percent, the goal is to finish the game as fast as possible with no restrictions on the use of glitches. And this is the most competitive and heavily optimized category. There's also 100%. In this category, players aim to complete all of the game's content, collecting every item and completing every side quest with fewer glitches allowed. And then there's also glitchless. So as the name suggests, of course, players must avoid using glitches to finish the game as quickly as possible, relying on optimized routing and perfect execution of attacks and movement things and that type of movement techniques and that sort of thing. So there's a couple of notable strategies and glitches when it comes to Ocarina of Time. This one, I actually remember you and I talking about, Tim, the wrong warp. And this is a technique that allows players to warp to different locations in the game using specific sequences of actions, significantly reducing normal travel time. And there's also infinite sword glitch, or ISG. And this glitch allows Link's sword to remain in an active state, enabling unique interactions with enemies and objects. There's also super slide. This glitch involves movement and gives Link an incredible boost in speed by manipulating the game's mechanics with bomb explosions or enemy attacks. And I remember actually you showing me this one, Tim, back in the day of somebody executing Super Slide, and it was pretty impressive. Also, this one also uses explosions, bomb hover, and this is used to reach higher platforms by detonating bombs to keep Link in the air, bypassing normal climbing or platforming requirements. And the last one I have here is SRM, or stale reference manipulation, one of the most groundbreaking discoveries, which has allowed players to manipulate the game's memory and objects to perform large skips.
You forgot to mention for the bomb hovering that you need ISG to bomb hover.
Oh, I did not. I actually did not know that.
I think it's something like Link can't fall if his sword is in an attacking animation. And so with ISG, the game's treating you as constantly swinging your sword, which means you can't fall, which is why you hover.
Is there a game that has like this? Like, I know there's other games that are speed run, obviously, but like speed ran maybe. But is there like another game that's kind of like?
I think people say speed runned.
Speed runned.
Yeah.
But is there another game that's like this where, because I feel like a lot of these things are obviously like Super Slide, Bomb Hover, these type of things are specific to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time is the one that I hear about the most. Is there another game like this that's like this popular with speedrunning?
Zelda games are really big ones for speedrunning for sure. I mean, speedrunning used to be super niche. Like it was within gaming, like in the 90s and early 2000s, like gaming was already a pretty niche hobby. Definitely like it had grown a lot since like the 80s and stuff, but it was still fairly niche. Like it was still like the nerdy thing to do to play video games. And so now we're talking about an even niche category within a niche community, which is like people who not only are playing games, but they're doing it as fast as they possibly can to reach like end credits or whatever. So it's a small group of people, and so like developments weren't found all that quickly. It's basically just between like people on forums and stuff. But now speedrunning is so huge, like you can speedrun any game in any category. There's probably something for it. So in terms of like popularity of speedrun, a lot of ones that are popular are like games that are already fast, like Doom and Quake and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of speedrunning is you can, if you want to play a game fast, you can just do it. Like there's speedruns now, recorded records of like leaderboards for any game you can think of. Like any niche game that you can think of that you thought, oh, maybe I wonder if anyone's done this. They probably have. Like there's going to be at least one person who's done a speedrun of almost any game. Pokemon is a really big one. Honestly, a lot of Nintendo stuff. Like Breath of the Wild is another game. The thing that's unique about Ocarina of Time for speedrunning specifically is it is really notorious for having like insane spaghetti code. It is a marvel that game even works because the code is so insane. Like you might think that you would have, like when you think of all of the zones in a game, you might think that, oh, maybe because these zones are like near each other in the game, that in like a registry of list of all the like data and like locations in a game, that those locations would be near each other in the data as well. They are not. And that is why namely the one glitch you talked about before, the wrong warp, is so key, or was so key before in the any percent category, because people would literally warp from the Lost Woods, where you are at the beginning of the game, straight to not only Ganon's Tower, but the end sequence of Ganon's Tower when it's collapsing, and beat the game in like sub 10 minutes. Like, the reason for that is because they would manipulate, the code to be like, hey, when you go like transition from this location to this location, instead of loading, the inside of this tree, you actually go to Ganon's Tower, because they're like, it's like the one right after it in the list of the code or something like that.
Right.
But it's a game that obviously a lot of people love, but it's also, there's so much potential for glitches in that game, and it's just really like technically interesting to speedrun. I think a lot of people like when there are a lot of glitches that they can potentially perform in a game to achieve a certain task. But Ocarina is just unique for sure.
I mean, I was going to say it's unique in that I would assume a lot of games out there do not have spaghetti code, but I would assume that I'm wrong if I said that. I'm sure there are a lot of other games out there that have a lot of spaghetti code just all over the place. So I have listed here a few key speedrunning milestones when it comes to Ocarina of Time. And again, this is not all of the milestones. So 2006 through 2009, this is when a lot of early breakthroughs with glitches like Super Slide and Wrong Warp made the any percent category far more efficient. In 2013, there was a leap forward with the discovery of Bottle Adventure and Wrong Warp Routes. Say that 10 times fast, lowering the any percent world record by several minutes, which is a lot in the speedrunning community. Like several minutes, like, I mean, seconds, I'm sure it comes down to seconds a lot of the time. And then in 2019, SRM was discovered. SRM's that stale reference manipulation that I mentioned earlier, and it was revolutionary as the community. It was revolutionizing the community by enabling massive sequence breaks that completely altered the speedrunning landscape. Mm-hmm. And the last one I have here is that just a note on the fact that even though, you know, this game came out in 1998 and the last update was to 2019 that I have, the community continues to push for more like better ways to do things, faster ways to do things, more glitches, different ways to manipulate movement, code, warps, yada, yada. It just keeps going on and going on. And that leads into my next point here, which is that there's quite a lot, and we did discuss this already, quite a large, speed running community that is collaboratively, going after these things. So there's a lot of runners, as they call themselves frequently, that will share discoveries and strategies with each other. And I'm sure they build off of each other. Like one person might be a great coder, one person might be great, at timing stuff on a controller. They work together, and then bing, bang, boom, they've discovered something, bing, crazy bing, like Super Slide or, whatever it is that they've discovered. Also, there's event showcases done for the community, such as Games Done Quick or GDQ, where top runners demonstrate their latest techniques. And of course, the leaderboards for any percent are highly competitive, with the world record being broken multiple times over the years as new glitches and optimizations are found. And the final note I have here is the cultural impact. So the enduring popularity of Ocarina of Time, and specifically the speedrunning community, has made it one of the most beloved and popular games in the Zelda series, because obviously it was very popular among sort of, let's say, standard players, non-speedrunners, I guess. And then the speedrunners love it as well, because due to its complex mechanics, due to its spaghetti code, as we already discussed, and just the sheer number of strategies available. And again, like things are still being found to this day, are still being researched to this day. And many runners cite Ocarina of Time as their first introduction to the speedrunning scene, meaning that Ocarina of Time is often a sort of the entrance into the speedrunning sort of community, where they can go and do other games other than just Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and that's the gateway drug.
It's crazy. Like I know like barely anything about speedrunning, and the only games that I know anything about was this one, which as I remember, I've talked to you and we've watched some of it, Tim. And then I watched one person speed run. It was like a video on speed running, so I didn't actually watch their run, but they sped run one of the Splinter Cells. They were going through and they were talking about how there's certain you can skip this load to black if you do this, and it's just stuff you would never consider in you're going through the game normally and you open up a gate and it fades to black. It's sort of okay, it faded to black, is loading. You would never think well, hang on, that's an extra 3 seconds. How do I make it not fade to black? Is it loading, or is it just slow by design? Is this the transition screen? Is there a way to make it so it doesn't think that it needs a transition or something like that? A classic one that I remember was there was a way to consistently, I think it might have got patched out, but there's a way to consistently, I think it was hunt in during hunting in Red Dead Redemption, and you didn't have to do the animation where it was what do you eat? That type of thing. There was a way to
horse over it.
That's it. Yeah, that's right.
Works in Red Dead 2 as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Those micro optimizations. There's a really good YouTube channel called Summoning Salt that talks about the history of a lot of speedrun categories, and they go into very fine detail about when new glitches were discovered and how it affected the path for the runs and stuff, or the whole category at that point, and which runners were involved and who found what and who contributed to what advancement and stuff like that. So you can really get into the nitty gritty of it if you want to. Really, there's some really, really cool stuff out there if you're interested in speedrunning at all. And like you mentioned, the GDQ, they actually have 2 events that they put on every year. They do Summer Games Done Quick, which is I think typically in July or September. Okay, yeah, I think it's September. And then they do Awesome Games Done Quick, AGDQ, which was the original one, and that's always in January. Um, so yeah, there's lots of speedrun information out there if you are keen, you want to get into speedrunning. Watching speedruns was actually what got me into Twitch in the first place, specifically watching speedruns of Ocarina of Time, because like you said, it's a lot of people are very nostalgic about Ocarina and they want to everybody's had that moment of like, man, this game's pretty fun. Like, I wonder what the fastest time anyone's ever beaten this game is. And then you look up the world record for speedrunning. And then, of course, you get into that inevitable conversation of, well, actually, that's an invalid way to play the game because you're using cheats and hacks and exploits. And well, that's a
Oh,
real way to play the game. And there's a bunch of, gatekeeping around it and stuff. But as is this case with anything. But what's really cool about speedrunning is how uh, collaborative it is. Like you said, a bunch of people working together to like find new routes for games or uncover new glitches or tricks or just regular optimizations or route manipulation, stuff like that. um it's all super collaborative, and it's like competitive, but like positively, like people are encouraging each other to like break their world records and stuff. One game that I started getting back into watching speedruns of actually is Baldur's Gate 3. There's some really really cool tricks in Baldur's Gate to see. I just saw a video suggested on my feed today, that the game is now beatable in just over 3 minutes to hit end credits.
holy.
It's really cool stuff. I've always found it quite fascinating, but yeah, it's really cool. And if you're not already familiar with AGDQ or SGDQ, they're massive uh things that have been put on now. I think they're going on more than 10 years now. They've been doing these streams twice a year. And they're always charity live streams. They're always raising money for Doctors Without Borders or other uh sort of charity organizations, and they've raised millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars for these organizations. So it's speed running video games for a good cause, which is super crazy to see how far it's come.
I think we talked about this before, but how do you guys feel, Matt? Can you name again the three most popular ways of speedrunning?
Yeah, so the major speedrunning categories is any percent. Do you want me to describe them as well, or just say what they are?
Sure, if there's just like a sentence or two, yeah.
Yeah, so any percent, which is basically no restrictions on the use of glitches, and this is the most competitive and highly optimized category. Then you have 100%. That's when you do everything, like get all the collectibles, for example, all the side quests, all the main quests. And then there's glitchless, which is, of course, you can't use glitches. You just finish the game as quickly as possible. And it's all about like being, fast on the controller, more or less.
I understand why the most popular, or wait, most popular was you can use glitches.
That's right. Any percent. That's right.
I understand why that's most popular, but to me, it just feels inauthentic. I feel like you're breaking the spirit of the game by exploiting glitches. You know,
And that's exactly what I was talking about before, but the gatekeeping of, oh, that's not a real valid way to play. That speedrun shouldn't be allowed.
yeah, do what you want as far as I'm concerned, but it's just in terms of popularity. Like I feel if you were holding a competition, it would be no glitches. At least that's how I'd run my competition. And
I
if I
know
was
what
a
you mean,
game
because
dev,
that's like
I would patch out the glitches actually.
that's like a knee jerk reaction, right? Is you people aren't playing the game the way you expect it to be played, and therefore it's
Yeah.
wrong. And people think, oh, it doesn't take skill because you just use a glitch, and they have no idea the technical requirements to be
Yeah.
able to pull off these glitches. Like, you watch a speedrun of the original Super Mario Bros. On NES that is literally, and this is not a joke, over tens of thousands of attempts, optimized down to literally frame perfect inputs.
hmm
Like, not a joke. The people who speedrun those games and get them down. You were saying like speedruns come down to a matter of seconds, Matt. In a lot of cases, it's down to frames.
Hooey.
Like, that's how competitive these runs are, because you literally cannot get any faster than frame perfect. So like that's the goal, right? And there's a whole kind of other category based off of that that's called a task run or a tool assisted speed run, which is where you run the game in an emulator and you have somebody basically set up like a program that will run inputs on specific frames to theoretically show how fast the game could possibly be beaten if like a robot was playing it, basically. And so people say like, oh, that's not a real run. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's just a proof of concept, basically. So like there are whole points to whole categories. Like you say, those are the big three, but those aren't the only categories for Ocarina. And it's not the only categories for any game. Um, but yeah, like all this to say that there are a lot of ways that people will view as like inauthentic or whatever, or it's like, you know, you're ruining the game by using glitches and it shouldn't be like considered you're really beating it or whatever because you've skipped half the game. The point of speedrunning isn't to play the game, it's to hit the credits as fast as possible, you
Yeah.
know? And I kind of explain it to people this way where like imagine you're standing behind a monitor and you're looking at somebody who's playing a game on that monitor and you can verify that everything that happens on the monitor is all being controlled by like the controller or keyboard or whatever input that they're doing, and it's changing things happening on the screen. You know that they've started the game, like they were title screen, they booted up a new file, new game, and then it starts. And then you can't see what's happening on the screen. You just know that they're hitting buttons in a certain order, and then eventually, if they do that enough, they get to the end credits of the game. It doesn't matter how they did that, whether they played the game air quotes normally or the way you would expect them to, or if they use like cheats or glitches. All you know is that they got to the end as fast as possible and nobody else hit the credits that fast before. But it's when people see how they did it, even though they're not using any third-party software, they're only using the game itself
What's
and the way the
available to
game
them.
runs, right? What's available to them, hitting buttons in a certain sequence. And it's like, just because you didn't know that when you hit the buttons in that sequence in that particular order, that it skips you to the, final level of the game, doesn't mean that it's invalid. It just means they did a thing differently than you did. And was it intended by the devs? No, probably not, but it still worked.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think when comparing them, you do have to put them in these categories, though.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
absolutely, and that's why
sense.
the categories exist. Yeah,
yeah.
Because you're not going to compare somebody who's doing it glitchless to somebody who's doing any percent and say
it wouldn't make sense to do that at all.
So that's why the categories emerge, right?
Yeah. Alrighty, cool. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you,
I will
Ryan.
never be a speedrunner, just for the record.
You
I
could.
can barely play games normally. All right, let's hop into our first story. Big controversy, big price. The PS5 Pro. Sony officially revealed it during a PlayStation 5 technical presentation. This is from IGN here. PS5 lead architect Mark Cerny confirmed the mid-gen refresh during the technical presentation, in which he said the new console lets Sony give players the high frame rates they prefer. The GPU is much larger, ray tracing is improved, and there's custom hardware for machine learning, which is PlayStation's own PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, which is like the DLSS and FSR for NVIDIA and AMD graphics card, respectively. Design-wise, the PS5 Pro lines up with the leaked information and images that recently hit the internet. It looks a lot like the PS5 Slim, but with additional stripes along either side. So the upgraded GPU with PS5 Pro, they're upgrading to a GPU that is 67% more compute units than the current PS5 and 28% faster memory. Overall, this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making the experience much smoother. Advanced ray tracing, they've added more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflections and refraction of light. This allows the rays to be cast at double and at times triple the speeds of the current PS5. And then AI-driven upscaling, which they were introducing with the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, which is an AI-driven upscaling that uses machine learning based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. Now, these are the three pillars that he focused on. So let's just talk about that before we get to the price, because that's where things get a little tricky. But Tim, did you actually get a chance to watch the actual presentation?
I didn't watch the presentation, no, but I've seen.
You've heard the details. What are your general thoughts so far?
An interesting thing that I saw, for comparison's sake, somebody took the price of the PS3 when it first came out and compared that amount to modern inflation prices.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not actually like that much less than the PS5 Pro, interestingly.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like I've seen everybody, of course, like reacting to the news. But this is what I am afraid of with like modern gaming hardware is like, where do we start to focus to like have the greatest improvement in like visuals or performance, that kind of thing? Because like people won't notice so much if a game is like running better, but they will notice if it like looks markedly different, you know? And like I feel like a lot of people, for one, don't think that there's necessarily like enough exclusives for the PS5 at this point.
Yep.
And for second, they don't think that like the graphical fidelity can really be pushed that much more to like justify the Pro. Um that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like,
Well, go ahead.
no, that's all.
That's where you're at.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
They kind of pitched it as right now a lot of the AAA games that come out on PS5 give you the option between fidelity and performance, which is graphics versus frame rate. And I think they said I can't remember the numbers, so I mean, go back and check for me. But it was something like 3/4 of users prefer performance mode, which is the frame rate, higher frame rates. But they said they didn't like gamers having to kind of choose one or the other, and so the PS5 Pro essentially eliminates that choice, and you can have great visuals at high frame rates. In the video, they actually called 30 frames per second choppy, which was kind of
30
funny.
FPS is choppy.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's
and
consistent, it's not necessarily choppy, but
it's choppy if you go from 60 to 30.
yeah,
But if you're just
yeah,
at 30, it's kind of
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I mean, going back and playing like games on the Wii U, like original hardware, like yeah, it feels clunky, even if the gameplay itself is fine. Like yeah,
But Matt, what are your initial thoughts?
I mean, barring the price, I mean, I'm kind of at a point where it's like, I have a 1080p TV, so I'm not going to benefit from any of this stuff anyway, to be honest. And also, what's kind of weird is that we're in the, I guess, age of game streaming, and game streaming generally isn't, the most high fidelity thing anyway. And we've also started game streaming on our mobile devices, and so we're in a weird spot with pro consoles because, like, sure, at your home base, let's say, you could have like the most high fidelity thing, but is it worth upgrading at any price realistically when, it's obvious that some players don't care about that at all. In fact, many players don't care about that at all. And they just stream from Xbox Game Pass and, stream to their Fire Stick. And then that's all they do. They don't own a console. So, we're in a weird spot. Like, I feel like maybe a pro console is becoming more and more niche these days by chance. If not due to price, which I know we're going to touch on, but if not due to price, then due to people being okay with worse graphics, because worse graphics today are still very good. We're at that point, right, where it's kind of like smartphones, where if you were to purchase, not a flagship, but like a slightly lesser smartphone, you're still going to get, multiple cameras and, all the features you'd expect. It just won't be, quite as premium. And honestly, like, sometimes it will be pretty premium. It might just be made more plastic than glass.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if we're just sort of at that point now where things just look good. And so, like, that's the way, like, are people really going to split hairs? I mean, I'm sure some people will, but, this isn't the transition from, SD to HD where people were going nuts about, oh my God, like, look how good things look. This is going from like HD to like HD plus. That's
what I mean, right? When I was talking about like people noticing the difference in terms of like gameplay and or graphics and stuff, or frame rate or whatever, where we noticed a big difference between the N64 to the GameCube or the GameCube to the Wii, right? Or like the Switch and stuff. But now, it feels like those intergenerational differences are much harder to like really pinpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's not like not that you don't play a game on the PS5 and go like, okay, nice, damn, and then you go back to the PS4 and you go, oh, holy shit, like yeah, there is a noticeable difference here because you get used to a new like bare minimum, right? But I feel like that gap between generations is definitely more narrow than it was before, and I feel like it's harder to sell people on something if they can't see the value as much, if that makes sense.
I would imagine there's more graphical differences from the PS4 to the PS5 than from the PS2 to the PS3. It's just you don't see it instantly.
It's hard to say, right? Because you can't perceive the differences between the 4 and the 5, and then like go back and perceive the difference between the 2 and the 3 like fresh for the first time.
But that's what like Matt brought that up, and I remember hearing that a lot when the PS4 came out. they were saying that the jump from PS3 to PS4 wasn't as impressive as the PS2 to the PS3.
Right.
Right. But I'm just guessing, just based on how technology has accelerated, is there's probably more graphical changes. It's just they're not as blatant or in your face. Like there's probably more detail. There's probably, because remember in PS2 it's like you had like a soldier and like his jacket would just be a single like image
Yeah.
file. You
Yep.
would see no difference between like the buckles and the shirt and the patches. But now you do. You actually see a layer for like a strap or something.
Yep.
Right. But just instantly looking at it, you don't really see that. You have to actually pay attention.
Yep.
Right. And so I just think, yeah, they're at this point where graphics are just so good that it's hard to notice better graphics.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like to me, I'm going to see like Dune. The CG looks as good as like the first Iron Man in 2008. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's all just good now. It's all just pretty good.
All just pretty good.
Yeah. I had something in my head I wanted to bring up about. Uh, it's always one of those cases where something like this comes out. It has a super steep price and it's a very niche product, and everyone acts as if they all have to buy it. And it's like, no, you don't have to buy it.
I don't know if everyone's acting like they have to buy it. It's just that there's maybe a much larger group of people that are always going to buy it than you might think, and they're always going to be very vocal on social media.
But I just mean everyone freaking out at the price and whether this is necessary. It's like all of them aren't planning on buying it necessarily.
I was going to say, I wish you could see the data on the people who were never going to buy it in the first place, and if those people are like complaining about it.
Because like the PS4 Pro was only like 14% of PlayStation 4 generation owners, right? So it was very small overall.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I bought one used.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean that's an option too, eh? Just wait for the used market.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is for a niche market, and that's obvious. Sony knows this. That's why the price is so high, and it's a
premium
more of a
thing.
Premium thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to kind of further the point when you were saying like, or I think Matt was saying that like you can get something that's maybe even fairly affordable for a device, and it still is like premium. It can be premium.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a tablet this week, like a Samsung Tab Lite S6 or something like that, for $200, and it feels like a very like premium device. Like the materials feel very nice. It came with the S Pen, which feels nice. Like it was on sale, to be fair, but like that's really affordable. And for a device that feels like as nice as it is, and I'm not a huge like Samsung fanboy or anything. Like I think I've only ever owned like 2 Samsung devices in my life, but I was really surprised at how like nice of a tablet it is. Like the display is really, really nice. It was just on a good sale, So like I was, just to further the point of like, yeah, you can get premium devices for fairly affordable prices.
Well, there's a lot of smartphones now that are like $200 US that have decent cameras. Like you wouldn't really be able to tell it was on a $200 phone. They have like 90 hertz refresh displays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think this tablet's refresh rate's actually also quite good because people use it as a drawing device a lot. It's kind of why I got it, because I was looking for a good drawing tablet, and it was highly recommended by like thousands of reviews. So
yeah. And so like obviously smartphones aren't advancing as fast as they once were, but what that means is that technology can filter down and become a lot more affordable, where you can have a super good smartphone for $200 US.
You think about the difference in like a premium phone, like when smartphones were first coming out and they were fairly expensive compared to like the phones that most people would have at that point, or maybe if they thought that phones were enough of a like useful utility that they would give their kids them too. Like thinking about what they would buy for their kid versus like the smartphone they might have for themselves would be like a huge disparity compared to now, where like you get a cheap phone or a tablet for your kid now, and it's still a quite, impressive device.
Yeah. So let's talk about the price. I do believe it's a bigger jump than the PS4 Pro was. I just have American numbers in my head just because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, but it was like the PS4 launched at like, what was it, $400? I think in the US.
America, 400. That's yeah, because they came out on stage and they were like, after the Xbox had said like 600 or $700 or whatever, and they came out, they were like $400, and I was like,
everyone thought they like waited to like see what Xbox's price were, but it's like no, those decisions were
Yeah.
made a long time ago. They don't just jump to decisions like that. It's just a big multi-billion-dollar company. That'd be amazing if they did, though.
Imagine, right? Just like last minute, just how much was R&D? Doesn't fucking matter. $400. Well,
I'll
we're
tell you
gonna
what.
take a huge loss. Are you serious?
If I was Microsoft, who's worth trillions, has a ton of money, I would make the next Xbox $200 and just be like, screw you, Sony.
Insane
just
loss on the hardware.
let's take it on, Sony. Let's go. Just to try to win back the console wars. But yeah, I don't have all the prices in my completely in my head, but I think it was like $400 American for the PS4 Pro or PS4. I think it, at least what they were saying in these podcasts I was listening to, it dropped down in price a bit, and then the PS4 Pro came in at the higher price.
Right.
And that didn't happen this time around. The PS5 and Xbox Series X have never, they had sales, but they haven't dropped their base sale price.
The Slim went up when they released the Slim. The price went up.
Yeah. And that's what is also wild is like the Slim has the detachable disk drive. The PS5 Pro does not come with a disk drive
or a stand.
Or a stand. So if you want a disk drive, you had to buy the $80 disk drive on top of the $700 PS5 Pro.
This feels like that in particular feels like gouging. Like no vertical stand. Sony couldn't give you a vertical stand for a premium device. Imagine being like the all new Samsung S26 Ultra screen sold separately. It's like what? Wait, what was that? What was that at the end there?
Well, the screen's not optional. The stand is optional.
Oh yes, that's true. But
it would be like if phones came with
mono speaker versus stereo,
like a keychain or something. Like it's useful, but it's not necessary.
A pop socket.
A pop socket. There you go. It's a better example. Yeah, like pop sockets sold separately. Like lots of people have pop sockets for their phones. And
but for a primo device though, like
the base PS5 comes with, well, not the Slim though. The stand doesn't come with the Slim, right?
I thought the Slim did come with a stand. I'm gonna check on that.
Now we got questions about that now. But the stand did come with the base PS5, both models, both disk drive and digital. And it is funny that it's now separate. But kind of to be devil's advocate here, how many people actually stand their console vertically? It's got to be a very low number. Most media units aren't set up for that. However, you could say pro users might have their console on display or something.
I would be really curious to see how many people do it vertically and how many people do it horizontally. But they, in all the marketing, they show it standing up.
Yeah.
They never show it horizontally. So I feel like that gives people a particular idea of like, oh, it's vertical. I have to have it vertical.
Yeah, that kind of sucks, eh? Good on them for making the disk drive swappable between the Slim and the Pros. That would have been a debacle on itself.
Who's going to have both? Who would have just bought,
you have a Slim, and then you have the disk drive, and then you go, oh, shit. Now there's a new one out, so you trade in your Slim and you get a Pro, and then your disk drive still works with the Pro.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Like that's going to be more than one situation that happens.
But now you're assuming someone either had a base PS5 and upgraded to the Slim, or just got the Slim in the first place, then got the hard drive separately or the disk drive separately, right?
Which they did.
And then traded in the console only, but has an empty shell.
Well,
I'm thinking too hard about this thing. Sorry.
Don't think about it. Just accept everything at face value.
Well, because I just remember someone was saying, like, if you had the disk drive base PS5 and you traded it in, you would then still have to buy a disk drive for your Pro console. Like, if you traded it in to buy a Pro console, you then have to buy the additional disk drive because all your discs are there.
That is a little bit crazy, right? Like,
it sucks.
It sucks. Like if you think about it that way, like I know we're kind of splitting hairs at this point, but that does suck. What also sucks is, of course, according to PC Mag, the PS5 Slim does not come with a stand.
Yeah, because I remember that being the case too. That was also sold separately. I think it's like the same stand.
It says buy a vertical stand for PS5 consoles. This is from the direct PlayStation shop. And this is $29.99, and I believe this is American. Vertical stand for PS5 consoles. Stand your PS5 console in style.
How much is it?
$29.99, I believe, US.
US, okay. I thought that's a good price Canadian, but that kind of sucks once you do the transfer rate.
$50 almost Canadian.
Yeah, for a little plastic and metal stand.
Ooh, metal, primo.
Oh, I think the ring's metal, or maybe it's just shiny plastic. I don't know.
I will say this is like what kind of sucks is like I think I mentioned this, well I've definitely mentioned this before, is like I feel like Xbox has like a much more ergonomic design in that if you want to bring your Xbox around with you, you just grab the box, Series X or Series S, you grab the cables, you throw it in a bag, and then you're good. Whereas the PS5 Slim, it doesn't come with a stand, but it does come with these little sort of like clip-on little feet to
Yeah.
keep it upright. And then the PS5 original has that ridiculously like huge like disc with little clips on the back. It's ridiculous. Like that's a ridiculous invention.
The Series X is a much more elegant console for
Much
sure.
more elegant.
I always
Yeah.
forget because I don't like know a lot of people that have an Xbox Series, but like I always forget how small they are.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
so used to the PS5. I was just like, yeah, that's a console. It's massive. The PS5 is huge.
It feels like there's a lot of empty space in there though to kind of accommodate this with the weird design. There's a lot of like wasted space. Those fins, like they don't really need to be there. It's just
It's not a
design
device
elements.
that Apple would have ever released.
No, it's like
Steve
but,
Jobs would have thrown it across the room and said,
but the Series X probably is. It's super compact. There's not a single
Yeah.
like millimeter of wasted space in that thing. If you've ever seen it torn down or repaired or whatever, it's quite impressive. Yeah. All right. So yeah, $700 American. I think it was like 960 Canadian, which
Oh.
is insane. Yeah,
oh my god!
but 2 terabyte storage drive. So
Well, I heard something interesting. I was watching the Victor Lucas sort of review of this. So I didn't watch the reveal video myself, but he played a large portion of it.
yeah,
And
well, yeah, he played most of it really.
And he brought up like two what I thought were good points that I didn't. One was that they never really showed off anything new. They didn't have like, you know, here's the first gameplay footage of Wolverine, and here's what it looks like on a PS5 Pro.
They just
and
showed
then-
off the hardware.
Yeah, and like cut to the PS4 or sorry, the PS5 regular version, like the Slim, and then be like, see, look at the difference.
Yeah,
He was like, it's all just like, you know, older games, like launch today, launch window, or just older at least games. And it's like, why the hell would you like have this very, very short console reveal with nothing that really demos the power other than like, hey, remember this old game that you played 2, 3, you know, whatever it was years ago? Well, it looks better than ever now.
yeah. Now you can run it with high frame rate mode and graphics mode at the same time.
It's like,
And it's like, but is anyone even playing that anymore? Like, not only is it a niche product, like you say, Ryan, like if we're going off the numbers of people who bought the PS4 Pro, yeah, it's like, what's the market? And
Well,
you have like, yeah, I was gonna say, Donkey released a video yesterday for the PS5 Pro, which was like where he did that, like he did that bit of them showing like here's it on PS5 and then here's PS5 Pro and then here's this game PS5 and this game PS5 Pro, and he starts off just showing like the same game and it's the same footage and it's like, wow, look at that, wow, look at the difference. And then he starts going like, here's the PS5, and then he's showing like PS4 games, or no, he's showing like PS3 games, and then he's like, and here's the PS5 Pro, and then he's showing like Ghost of Tsushima footage from like PS4. And it's like, yeah, they didn't show any footage, so like what is there to be excited about?
Well,
all you're saying is like the people who even understand the technical aspects of game performance and display like will even care in this already niche product.
I understand that argument. Like I've heard it a bunch too, Matt. Not just from Victor Lucas, but like almost every podcast I've listened to since the technical video. I understand that, but what they're trying to do with the console is show you what you're used to and compare it to how it looks on the PS5 Pro. So they can't just show you Wolverine. We've never seen it. How could they show us how good it looks if we have nothing to compare it to?
Well, Wolverine would be like a random throw in. Like you could show us COD. Like we've seen COD before, and Blops is coming, and Blops just had an open beta. So like
Would Microsoft allow them to show off COD on their new PS5
again,
Pro?
I'm spitballing though. Like I'm saying, like show off something that we'd be familiar with, but not. It doesn't have to be years old. It could have been released this year at least.
Yeah, I know, and they mostly showed off their own games. You know, they showed off like Harry Potter and a little bit of Jedi Fallen Order, I think, at the beginning, and then they had a whole montage of like games at the end there, and I think Final Fantasy Rebirth was in there as well. But yeah, I just think their message was supposed to be the games used to look a little fuzzy on your PS5, or they could, and run at 60 frames per second, or they could look nice on your PS5 and run at 30 frames per second. And they were just trying to say, remember these games and how they looked? These games. Here's how they look on the new console. I think the bigger problem was they played it in like a 1080p video on YouTube, um, which compresses the hell out of it, and it's just like I'm not getting anything out of this. And I don't know what the solution to that is, because that seems just to be something that's happening. I think I suggested last week or maybe the week before, Matt, about YouTube should have like a special high res stream service for companies or something, because it's if they want to keep being a place to show off these things, because otherwise it's just there's always gonna look like crap.
Everything's
Maybe they could do it on their
blurry.
own. Sony could do it on their own website, but then no one's gonna go to it.
That's also a lot.
I think IGN said they received the 4K footage of that technical demo, and it was 70 gigabytes. So that's another issue. Yeah.
Well, there was another point, like the second point that Victor Lucas mentioned that I thought was interesting was that he said, and like I'm paraphrasing from memory, but he said that there's never been a point in his career in which the competition between console and PC has been clearer. Whereas like before it was sort of like PlayStation's fighting Xbox and like maybe Nintendo. But now it's like PlayStation 5 is like kind of like you were mentioning, Tim, like how, maybe the PS5 is like for people that for people that like really get into like game stats, I guess, like performance stats and stuff, and like, splitting hairs. It's like that's kind of what PCs are, right? And so it's like the light version of that, I guess. But there's something else there's another like aspect to this too, though, is because another facet is that people are calling for a PSP, and they've been calling for it for a while, but like especially now, at least from what I've seen, after like off the coattails of the success of the Steam Deck, and like people are willing to have lesser quality things. Like they're willing to be like, oh, I'll play it, I'll use a Steam Deck and I'll dock it. It's like, well, that thing's not running things at 8K. Like it's certainly not, especially not on battery. I mean, the Switch is still out for Christ's sake, and so like I don't know, we're in this weird spot in gaming where there's just like so many places to play and so many things that you could purchase that I just feel like it's not a problem, but it's just like it's becoming more and more niche when your hardware is just splitting hairs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like you said, Ryan, where people they'll see a product come out and then they'll be upset that it's like they'll complain about it not being for them or whatever, but it's like, you weren't necessarily the target demographic in the first place, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's the thing that a lot of these companies have to balance is like, who is this product for? Like we do the market research, we see what percentages of the market are this or that, and we make a product for this part of the market. And you have to expect when you put something out for one part of the market that the rest of the market is going to get all mad about it and be like, this isn't for me. And it's like, well, it was never really meant to be for you. And we just kind of hoped that the market would like sort itself out and be like, we know that this is for us kind of thing.
The classic one was the $10,000 gold Apple Watch when the Apple Watch first launched. Everyone was so angry at that. I'm like, it's not for you.
Yeah.
And actually, I was just talking. Apple just announced their new versions of Apple Watch and iPhones and stuff. And with the Apple Watch, they've pretty much partnered with Hermes. Like I think close to almost every single version. There's always an Hermes watch, right? And I always joke with my dad that I want him to buy my mom a Hermes Apple Watch, and he doesn't want to do it. He thinks it's a waste of money because like the watch is going to get outdated at a certain point.
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas like an actual watch, it's kind of timeless, right?
Yeah. It's actually not timeless. It's the point of the watch is that it has
it's full of time. Got so much time in it.
Chock full. You can fit so much time in this bad boy.
But so why is there always an Hermes Apple Watch? And it's because there's like just a subsection of people that want a different Apple Watch than the rest of us. You know what I mean? There's and then during the presentation they announced that Hermes was coming to the Apple Watch Ultra. And it's like, so even these like rugged like outdoors people need an Hermes Apple Watch to be different than the rest of the commoners.
Well, it's like what has always been said about Apple, right? Is that like people like buy iPhones because they need to show that they can afford it. Like that's the entire point of a premium product.
Status
right?
item.
Yeah, and that's just taking it to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As a person that is currently wearing $3 shorts, I've never heard the word Armez in my entire life. It's got to be said. I don't know what the fuck Armez
let me just
is.
tell you, you're buying a couch right now, right?
Yeah.
Hermes has couches that are $40,000.
I wouldn't even let it get to the quadruple digits for a coach. Fuck that. Fuck that. One like, whoa, and you like spill some pop on it. It's like Armez. Like
No,
if you
rich
can
people don't
afford an
spill pop.
Armez couch, you can afford somebody to clean your $40,000 couch.
Oh, sure. I'm just playing, but yeah.
Or you can afford to buy another couch.
Or just buy a different one. Yeah.
Buy another
replace
Armez
the
couch. Armez 2 this year.
Oh, imagine you save up all your money, you buy a $40,000 couch, it just gets ruined somehow, and then you're like, oh, that was all my money.
Yeah.
I can't afford to buy another one.
I'd be so mad. Oh man.
I
invest all
didn't
your
buy
money
a
in one
car. I
couch.
got this couch. I wanted to sell it vintage in 7 years.
All right, so here's some of the games coming to PS5 Pro with a PS5 Pro enhanced, I guess, update. That will be a designation apparently with their title. Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows. So that's a game that's coming out. Demon's Souls, which is probably still the best looking game on PS5. So that'll be interesting. Dragon's Dogma 2, which I've heard has some graphical or performance issues. So I don't know if that's going to be hammered out. Same with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That also apparently has some graphical issues, and I've also experienced those where the game, no matter what you do, the game looks fuzzy. So hope that works. Gran Turismo 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon Forbidden West, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, The Crew Motorfest, The First Descendant, and The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, and more. So yeah, a lot of those games are just going to be like, boot it up, take a look, turn it off.
Oh.
I'm surprised that the First Descendant is like, it looks pretty good, but it's an online free to play shooter.
Are they partnered with Sony somehow? Is that some sort of exclusivity on console or something?
No, they're on Xbox, and PC.
Yeah, I don't know why then. I don't know.
Well, I mean, how many games got a PS4 Pro update? Like quite a bit. To be fair,
and after like a year, like every game had a PS4 Pro version of some sort.
Because the game engines are assuredly doing most of the work, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, because I guess so it's gonna have like a boost mode, kind of like PS4 Pro did, and I guess that will work on games that have like an unlocked frame rate. Or again, I'm not technical in all this stuff, but there's something where it can just take advantage of whatever's there, whatever hardware is available, it will take advantage of. So that's kind of what boost mode will do. So a lot of games might just end up doing that and saying, "Oh, this supports PS5 Pro because we have it unlocked or whatever." Right? Yeah. All right, Matt. Speaking of Xbox or gaming kind of taking a weird turn right now, maybe heading downhill a little bit. Microsoft cut jobs, and the company lays off hundreds of employees in Xbox gaming divisions from Business Insider. Bloomberg report revealed that the company has decided to cut 650 jobs in its gaming division.
Oh my God.
Phil Spencer, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, addressed employees in a company memo expressing that the decision was a difficult but necessary step to ensure long-term success for the business. Quote, "We are deeply grateful for the contributions of our colleagues who are learning they are impacted," Spencer wrote, according to Bloomberg.
Who are learning they are expendable, I think you meant to say there.
I don't have the full quote, but I was listening to the Vergecast, and they read a quote from the memo he sent out, and it said something like, "We're continuing to build our gaming division, kind of like a welcome to like new employees," but then also said, "Here's some fired employees." So it was very weird that way, but
I mean, like, it's not a new concept, because especially like through COVID and stuff, and they hired on a bunch of people and now they're firing off a bunch of people. But like, it's so obvious that these layoffs are short-term gains, like extremely, extremely short-term gains that they're going to have to just like rehire for in the future anyway. And it's like, you would be saving yourselves so much headache with like hiring people and firing people and rehiring people by just keeping people on and having a reasonable number of employees and taking a reasonable amount of time to have these products come out, instead of crunching and having your devs like lose their minds trying to get this game out on time and then firing them as soon as it's out. Like, the only reason to have these layoffs is so that the executives get a bonus for the year. They have these extra funds that they get to play with, and then they have fewer employees that they have to worry about. And all it does is distrust in the actual like not even necessarily like the gaming communities, but just like the actual development communities. Like you're you're not going to have employees that are happy to work for you if their job is hanging over their head constantly, and you could just be like, I mean, Tango Gameworks is a perfect example of that. It's like when they were let go, the message that was sent there was you can make the some of the most innovative, like inspiring, creative, funky designs that are super commercially successful, and your job is still not guaranteed. Like it seems so backwards. It's like, this is some of the best shit we've had in years. Thanks. By the way, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. And it's like, what? You think of all people, they would be secure, but nope.
It'd be interesting if they made a law where that the person making the firing decision had to personally and in person fire these people.
Yep. Kayla has said the exact same thing.
I feel like a lot of the times it's just like they're just numbers on a spreadsheet, and it's like, oh, we're losing money. What's the easiest way to make that up? Oh, this person gets paid $60,000 a year, gone. You know, oh, there's a whole there's hundreds of them just gone, and then I'll balance my books.
Yeah,
you know. I also thought that about countries and going to war. It's like if you as a country declare to go to war, the senators and congresspeople and whoever the MPs have to either go themselves to
that'd
war,
be good,
or someone in their family, in their immediate family, or something like that. And then it's like, then are you really going to go to war? What's actually, is it actually worth it? If the decision makers have to have more stake in the game, right?
No, absolutely not. It would never happen then.
Yeah, unless some crazy person wanted to go. Well, I guess maybe they're all crazy.
I was actually just gonna say that, like, I'm kind of sick of like the apologies. Like, I would just rather them say we laid off 650 people. That's it. Like, you know what I mean? The apology is like, you went to like ChatGPT and you got a fucking you typed in like, I need a PR statement. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
they went to Copilot, Matt. They would use Copilot. It's Microsoft.
We didn't. Oh fuck. We Copilot with this.
Oopsie doopsie! I accidentally hit the fire everybody button. Oh, sorry.
Like if I go to Copilot right now,
me.
I guarantee I could get it, and they'll do it. Like, as you guys discussed, I'll like ask it to like fire everybody at like some random company, or ask it to like fire 100 people or something, and like tell it to write a PR statement.
Yeah, give the prompt. I need to fire 600 people from my company, and I need to release a PR statement to say how much they were like valued and why we did it, kind of thing.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, and just to me, even if I was fired, I don't want to be apologized to. Okay, what's my severance? Bye. Like, you cut me, I'm gone. Like, fucking bye. Like, I don't have time. I got to go apply to places later. That, like, you know what I mean? Like, am I like reveling or like really like happy that you apologized? I know it's a courtesy, but like sometimes it's just like, I don't know. I am personally sick of it, and I'm not the one being laid off here. I understand. So like maybe people who are being laid off really want an apology, but do they really believe in the apology? As much as we believe in like PR statements that aren't about being laid off. Like if a company makes a big ass mistake and then they have like a PR statement, like how much of it do we like truthfully believe, and how much of it do we like chalk up to like, oh, they're just trying to like save their reputation and they got like a PR like person to like come out. And, if it was a mistake and they're clarifying, that's fine. But if it's sort of like, hey, we got caught dumping like all of our Samsung phones in the ocean. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. We're committed to the environment. It's like, you weren't last week. You're whipping these things in the ocean, like, fuck, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know.
Not Tim's iPad. Or not his tablet.
Yeah, actually, Tim, I'll be having that. Just right
in the ocean. I was going to use that. Well, at least I got it for a good price.
I'm gonna try that prompt. You guys chat here.
It's just that like people, it's happening so much now that I think they're kind of banking on people just getting used to it, like going numb to the fact that like, yeah, these layoffs are happening. Oh, look, another layoff. It's like shootings in the States. It's like they're not as shocking to people now because it just happens all the time, that each individual incident has less impact. And I think they're relying on the fact that people aren't surprised to hear about layoffs anymore, Like, do you say, do the people who are getting fired want to hear the apology? Maybe some do. Maybe it makes some of them feel better, but does it soften the blow for the majority of them? No, probably not. They don't want to hear they got fired. They don't want to hear why. They want the people who making that decision to have made smarter decisions in the first place. Yeah, they would just rather not be fired.
Yeah.
Wild concept.
I heard they sent out a message putting a blackout on social media for Xbox stuff because I think last time they got in trouble because they had just laid off a bunch of people and then they put out like an ad or something that said "Feel the burn" or something like that. You know, so that's always tricky stuff though.
Feel the burn of not having a job anymore.
Yeah.
So I do.
Man,
I got this update here. So my prompt was I need to lay off 100 people from my company. Write a PR friendly apology to them. And it says this is Copilot. I want to be clear in the creative mode. I'm sorry I'm sorry to hear that you have to go through this difficult process. Here's a draft for a PR friendly apology letter. So there's a subject, a dear and a sincerely and all that. So I'm just going to kind of get to the potatoes.
Copilot apologized to you.
Yeah, because I'm making the heavy decision to lay off 100 people.
It's just funny that they built that in.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. I hope this message finds you well. It is with a heavy heart that I write to inform you. Remember, this is a letter. That I write to inform you that some difficult decisions we have to make at company name due to, and then these are blanks, specific reason, example, an economic downturn or restructuring, etc. We have had to make the incredibly tough decision to reduce our workforce. Unfortunately, this means that we will be parting ways with some of our valued team members, including yourself. This decision was not made lightly. We've explored all possible alternatives and have taken every measure to avoid this outcome. However, in order to ensure long-term sustainability of our company, this step has become necessary. We deeply regret the impact that this will have on you and your families. Please know that this has been a decision that this decision in no way reflects your performance or dedication. Your contributions have been invaluable, and we are truly grateful for your hard work and commitment. We are committed to supporting you through this transition, and we will be providing. And then here's another blank, which is details of severance packages, outplacement services, or other support, and blank. Our HR team will be available to assist you with any questions and provide guidance on the next steps. Thank you for understanding and being a part of our journey. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Classic. It's like, what? Word for word.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
why is the solution never we as executives will take a pay cut?
Did for Nintendo.
Did it?
When the Wii U came out and it was like a terrible fucking product that did not sell because they didn't market it properly and all that stuff. Who was it at the time? Satoru Iwata took a pay cut that year so that they didn't have to like lay off a bunch of employees because Wii did so poorly.
Is that kind of like some like part of like Japanese like honor like culture kind of thing maybe?
I can't speak to it personally. I think it probably had to do with the fact that like in Japanese culture, like when you have people working for you, like it's a very like you serve the people, not the people serve you kind of mentality. You're responsible for your employees, right? Like that's definitely like an established thing in Japanese culture.
But I swear I've never heard American companies or Western companies.
No, they would never take accountability for their employees. No,
but it's just like they always complain about economic downturns or losing like sales and stuff, and it's like I never hear them say I'm going to take a pay cut. Maybe once or twice. There's something rattling around in my brain remembering something, but it doesn't happen often.
It's probably happened, but it's not the norm, right? It's one of those,
or at least I don't hear news about it. But anyway,
here's a crazy one. It offered so this is Copilot again. I'm not reading the whole thing. This is Copilot again. It offers like a bunch of like what you think you may reply with, right? So one of the things I clicked on was, thank you for the draft. This is my response to it, that it was auto-generated. Thank you for the draft. Can you also provide some tips on how to handle this process compassionately? And it's like, absolutely. Handling layoffs with compassion is crucial. Here are some tips to help you navigate this difficult process. And then it lists fucking 10 points for me to fucking lay off people.
Why do I feel like you're not the first person who has asked for this, for help with this?
It says here at the bottom, at the bottom of the 10 points, if you need more specific advice or answers, feel free to ask. I'm here to help. Copilot is ready.
It'd be amazing if it said last user, Phil Spencer.
Others have also asked, what are people saying about Phil Spencer these days?
Yeah.
What are people saying about me, Phil Spencer?
Well, there's another response here. This is helpful. This is what I would be typing in. This is the auto-generated one. This is helpful. But how can we maintain team morale after layoffs?
Jesus Christ. Now it's even telling you how to talk to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's so weird.
The future is here.
We're going to move on to our last story.
Robots do our layoffs.
Moving on to our last story here. One that was kind of surprising to read about. The Watch Dogs movie is finally done 10 years after it was announced. I don't think I even remembered there was a Watch Dogs movie. Remember there was a Division movie with some celebrities in it.
Division movie.
Matt, you remember the Division movie, right? Oh, Matt's gone. Matt's going to buy his tickets to Watch Dogs.
He's got to freaking go. Tickets are available now at buytickets.com.
Okay. This is from GameSpot. The Watch Dogs movie, based on the video games, has finished filming. Ubisoft and New Regency have announced. The company celebrated the achievement by sharing a photo of director Matt, what is that? Mr. Turi on location filming a scene from the movie. Turi was an assistant director on Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards and was the solo director on The Deep, Dark, and Hostile. The Watch Dogs film was announced in 2013, but stalled multiple times, as many Hollywood productions do. Production officially got underway in early July, so the film had a relatively quick shoot. Tom Blythe, who starred in the Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, will play a lead alongside Talk to Me's Sophia Wilde. Tim, did you play the Watch Dogs games?
No, my
you
entire experience with them is through Matt. So take that as you will.
I feel like this is another Borderlands. I feel like it's a Borderlands coming.
You say it was in development, or was at least first announced 10 years ago?
That's what this says, yeah. 2013.
I mean, yeah, 2013, 2014 would have been the beginning of the PS4 and Xbox One.
I remember when Watch Dogs was announced, it blew everyone away because of how good it looked. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember the big scene that everyone was making a big deal of was he was like hiding behind the car, or maybe that was the Division.
That was the Division when he pushed the door closed.
What was the one that was so impressive about Watch Dogs? What was the specific mechanic?
I don't remember a specific thing
that everyone made a big deal about.
Maybe
I think people really liked the sequence where the cars were like flying through the streets, and then he hacks the ballers to like pop up in the intersection, and cars like slammed into it, and they dynamically like crunched and had a really cool interaction. And then people realized that was purely like pre-planned, and that when you actually played the game, cars did not interact with those ballers that way. They just slammed into it heavily, like GTA 4.
Yeah, whatever that was, the tech demo that I guess they showed off was a lot better.
It's extremely different from how the game actually played, yeah.
And same with the Division too. I feel like, at least it wasn't as detailed, even though it was a pretty good game.
People really gave him a hard time over that, walking along or crouching alongside that car, and then they closed the door in the demo and it didn't do that in the real game.
We had never seen things like that before. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I think they like the door closing did make it in, right? Did it make it in? Yeah. Okay.
I closed because I would always do it because I remember seeing it.
You're like, that's the thing I gotta do. I gotta get my full experience out of this game.
But Matt, I think it's the same as Borderlands, because it's like we're at a point where there's been 3 Watch Dogs games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people are that excited for that franchise anymore.
To me, Borderlands is like peak millennial humor, and we are not like the core demographic for like pop culture anymore. And so I just remember seeing so many people talking about how like awful the trailer looked for Borderlands, because the humor was super cringy and like it didn't, age well. And for those who are like fans of the games, they were like mixing characters from Borderlands 1 and 2. So the story within the lore of the game didn't really make sense. I didn't see the movie, so I don't even get to give that sort of feedback on it. But I know people were saying it like it wasn't even like so bad that it's good movie. It was just bad. Was like the biggest review I heard of it.
It's just not a Borderlands movie. Like it's almost like it's a movie happening on a planet, and Borderlands is making a cameo.
Yeah,
it's really really bizarre.
Generic, fantasy sci-fi adventure with a Borderlands skin.
Kevin Hart is Roland, and this is a spoiler. Roland doesn't have a turret. It's Kevin Hart with no comedy, and he has a beret, and his name is Roland in the movie, and that's it. There's no turret. There's no Roland-esque stuff. Other than that, I guess he's good with guns.
He's
and
the stoic leader.
Yeah.
At least in Borderlands 2, anyway.
Yeah, he's basically just like a leader figure of some sort, and that's it. It's pretty rough.
The beauty of the Fallout show was that it basically operated how the games do. They literally had stim packs that would bring you back from the dead almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The show operated on video game logic, yeah.
Yeah, and Borderlands just did none of that. It took no inspiration other than the look. And even there, it wasn't like cell shaded, but they just like, oh, this looks like Lilith, doesn't it? And then that was it. She didn't really act like Lilith, Spoiler alert: she doesn't get like her powers until like the end, and that doesn't really do a lot with them.
And she's like an old Lilith.
And the big thing about Borderlands is the guns and the different wacky guns you can get, all the combinations and stuff. Not a single scene focused on the guns. You know,
Wow.
there wasn't a scene where they were buying guns or looking at guns or picking guns up and like just using them and having all these wacky, incarnations of guns. It's
Was
like
Marcus in the movie?
yeah, as like a bus driver.
And the
He's
closest,
he's the weapons merchant.
so
Yeah.
you do see him as a weapons merchant. You see him drive a bus to a town, and then in that town, you do see him like sort of being like on the side of being like a market person, like selling.
He is the bus driver in the first game, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
But like he is like hawking weapons, but it's not like they're like, what does this one do? And that it like goos somebody or something like you would expect.
That would be perfect. That makes so much sense to have like an intro scene to like go to buy guns the first time, and then he's just like, oh, what is this? He gets some stupid kid or whatever in the gun shop or whatever, and he's like, what does this thing do? And he burns a hole through the wall or something like that. Like that'd be perfect.
Yeah,
they didn't like if they wanted to be more like Fallout, it's like you'd have all the wacky guns, you would have shields, you know what I mean?
True.
And
or gear.
And one of the things Adriano likes, because he doesn't always fast travel in games because he thinks it breaks like the universe lore. In Borderlands, or not fast travel, but like even like dying and you respawn. In Borderlands, it's a thing that actually happens. There are physical units in the world that respawn you after you die.
Yep.
And it's like they didn't do that. They didn't even do that. They made this not like Borderlands in any way. There wasn't little tiny psychos that come running at you and screaming and stuff. The one guys don't like heads blow off and then like a little tiny head shows up and they get really strong. That didn't happen.
Oh yeah.
No Borderlands thing happened in this movie. It just looked like Borderlands.
Yeah.
And Claptrap didn't sound like Claptrap. It sounded like Jack Black doing a Claptrap voice.
I will say this though: is Claptrap was the only thing that was, I would say, very
the closest,
like more than passably Borderlands.
Yeah.
That was their only saving grace. That was the only thing they were like, we got a Borderlands this. He'll carry the whole movie.
I almost wonder, I don't know who to blame for it, but maybe it was the studio that's like, we don't want to go too crazy with this because then the general audiences won't want to see it. We need a run-of-the-mill
but that was
action
the whole
story.
Draw of the games in the first place. Like they
don't want to lean into
popular.
it.
The games weren't popular because they were average. The games
the
were
video game
popular
adaptations that
wacky.
work are when they lean into the actual source material.
Yeah.
And not try to like, oh, we're doing like a crappy Hitman movie. It's like, come on.
There's even like Fallout even has like random encounters. Like that chicken fucker guy like tries to like fix that.
Excuse me?
I mean, straight up, the chicken fucker, he like heals that other guy and like heals his like foot, which is all fucked up. And even that guy's like, quote unquote, in universe, very real like foot injury was even cartoony at a point where he like pulls his like sock off and his like toe is like basically off. And he's like, oh man, this sucks. And he puts the sock back on.
Oh, so gross. Well.
So anyway, Watch Dogs is gonna suck.
Just like so matter of fact. Anyway, this fucking sucks and I hate it.
I'm generally optimistic and a happy guy, but I mean, sometimes you can see it. You can see that, first of all, the Watch Dogs, there's not a world there. There's a bunch of hackers and holding the cell phone all the time. Like that's not a world. You didn't build a world that is enticing for me to watch in a movie.
It's the thing, right? It's like Watch Dogs was very like, it was like pseudo futurism. It was like not distant future. It was like near future.
Yeah.
At the time. And now a world of Watch Dogs where it's like everyone's walking around with a phone. It's like, yeah, duh. What?
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago is very different from tech now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, you're gonna have a much harder time selling people on that universe when it's like it's like modern day, but it's a little bit slightly darker modern day.
Yeah, so I don't see how this turns out well, but I'm hopeful. How about that? I want it to do well. I'll probably go see it because I don't mind going to the movies. I went and saw Borderlands. Might as well go see this one.
Do we know what the general plot of this is? Because like to me, I feel like Watch Dogs, even in today's day and age, would do well in like a suspenseful movie. If you had something like, I mean, dare I compare it to the first season of Prison Break, where it's like super suspenseful. They're literally trying to break out of a prison and like every second matters and everything they do. It's like the bulls or the officers are all like constantly watching them and shit. And it's like very like, if you had, I'm not saying if you're breaking out of a prison, but if you had like a really good scenario where it's like hacking really matters and like you actually have to like break through things and stuff instead of the hacking being like a spectacle. where it's like, I walk the streets, I'm a vigilante, and then he does the Ballard thing, and all that shit. It's like, this is fuck. I don't give a shit about your vigilantism. Like, this is stupid. You're a criminal. Like,
Yeah,
get this
they
guy
have
off the
to,
streets.
because that's what sells it originally, right? Is kind of like that he's sort of the anti-hero. Like he's not necessarily better than the other criminals. It's just you're following his story, and so the viewer gets attached to him
Yeah,
because you're seeing it from
But-
his perspective, right?
He's trying to take down like evil organizations and stuff, isn't he?
It's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. Like he's working with certain individuals, right? That's what I gather from it. Like I said, I hadn't played the first Watch Dogs game, but I have seen.
But he
several
was
parts
doing
of
it to get like to back to his like wife and kid or something.
his
Remember
daughter
they
or
show up at
something?
the end, Matt? Spoiler alert.
I'm gonna be blatantly honest with you. That game was so fucking boring. The only thing I remember was the most boring part, which is when he's really sad because his like sister and his like nephew gets killed, and you drive in the pouring rain to the cemetery, and you go over to the grave, and I was just like, good fucking Christ, this game sucks. Like, God.
Here's another reason why this movie isn't going to do well. Where's Watch Dogs 4? If it's such a strong franchise to build a movie off of, where's the fourth game? The third game shipped with PS5. That was 4 years ago. So
I mean, although we say that because it makes sense to release a game near the movie, but we're not getting a Fallout game.
no, but that franchise is still alive,
That's true. Like, I guess 76 is still being updated quite a bit and stuff.
and there's still positive sentiment towards Fallout. I don't know if that's the case for Watch Dogs. When's the last time we brought up Watch Dogs? We haven't like talked about it in normal conversation.
I don't know if I've ever actually organically brought up Watch Dogs in a conversation ever.
Yeah, now we talked about it too much. Now we gotta.
I've said the word Watch Dogs more times in the last 5 minutes than I have in the last 10 years.
What's the guy's name in the first game?
Aiden Pierce.
Aiden Pierce.
Aha.
I have his statue right over here.
You have a statue?
I bought the
you have a
collector's
statue
edition.
of Aiden. You God.
And
The statue of this man that I hate. Just so I can look at it and remember how much I hate him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the basement, I think.
Well, deserved.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I didn't play the game. I'm sure it's fine. But it's like, to me, like Borderlands, it feels very of its time. Like, I think now it's kind of dated. It's like you've waited a really long time to revamp this, Like there's certain things, like you would think of all things that Borderlands would stand the test of time for a reboot because it's so stylized. And like you said, if you really leaned into it, if it has a strong enough sense of style, they could do something with it, right? But like I did say before, I feel like the humor is very like millennial, and it might not resonate as much with younger audiences anyway. Not to say that it couldn't still come out.
Even
and be popular,
me, I'm playing through Borderlands 3, and it's just like, no, this is not funny anymore. It's the same type of humor that was in the first two games. But I'm just tired of this. It's too immature now,
It's been going for a long time. And like, that's not to say that, if you enjoy immature humor, that you're
right
out of time or whatever. It's personal taste, of course. But
I've had enough,
Yeah. And I think that's fair. And I think that a lot of, like you say, like the reason that Fallout did so well is because they really leaned into it. If they had really leaned into Borderlands for the movie, I think it would have been a lot more successful, but they just played it too safe and it fucking flopped really hard.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to what we're playing. Matt.
Me?
What? Me? What am I playing? You did say me. I am playing. We did like a little bit, like an hour or maybe 2 hours, something like that, of Civ 6. We did that with Aaron, just sort of on a whim randomly.
Feeling the Civ train.
Well, and then the save broke. So then the next time we played a different save. And then now we're there. Although there's seemingly like a bug going around because like Aaron was having trouble connecting with someone else. And then I'm having trouble. I'm the host, and I'm having trouble. Like I'm getting like input delay, where I tell my troops to do something, and it takes like 30 seconds for them to acknowledge what I told them to do, which is really annoying. So there's like definitely something, as far as I could tell, going on. Maybe with the latest
server
update.
Side thing.
Yeah, server side, last update, like something's up. But we did a little bit of that. Other than that, a bit of the Fortnite, working through the season, pretty good. I think we're like a little 30 or 40. Like we got a stupid amount of XP the last time we played. We played for like an hour and a half. And we got like a stupid, like I think like the last round, you're like, I think I'm done. And we got like 160,000 XP that round, and we didn't even win or anything. It was like, what the fuck happened?
was like 80 battle stars I'd like raised too.
Yeah, like it's crazy. So we did that, and that was a ton of fun. Little bit of Apex as well. A couple of second places, no win this week, sadly, but that's all right. A couple of good fights in that. And then I tried what's it called? I'm gonna make sure I have the name correct. It's I just tried this on a whim. Once Human. So I remember seeing the trailer. I think it was at like I don't know what E3 or something, and we kind of like finished Diablo 4, like I'm just at the max level or whatever. And so I was just like, well, like, why don't we just try this thing? It's free to play. And we kind of expected to just sort of like toss it aside. And we got into it. Super fucking fun. Like actually really enjoyable. It's a mix. This is going to sound really weird. It's like a mix of The Division, but like the Dark Zone, but PvE. So like PvE, the Dark Zone, and Fallout 76, where people are building camps all over the world. But I believe, don't quote me, but I believe the camps are persistent. And you like go around to like POIs and you know, scrounge for loot, you kill creatures. And then here's the weird thing. It's got a bit of Remnant 2 in it. So you're like walking around the world and it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse. So you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden, like a creepy ass creature, like I had this creature come out. It was a bus, like a, you know, an apocalyptic kind of like ripped up bus. It sprouted legs and started walking around the town. And it's like you have to like shoot the legs to have it like fall down so you can like run into the bus and get some loot. There was a concert that was set up at one of the towns, and like this massive fucking like CN Tower looking lumbering like massive speaker and wires came walking out of there trying to kill us. And it's just, I don't know, it's like a super fun game. Like it's like I said, it's free to play. I haven't been bugged to buy anything yet. And what's crazy about it is like you build your base. Your base is like super useful. You know, you make guns, you make ammo, you make you know, food, water, all that stuff. But when you walk around in these games and you see someone, let's say like with a vehicle, you know, you always think like, oh, that's going to cost me money, or that's like going to be like 100 hours down the road. This game doesn't give a fuck. Like it's just sort of like, you want to all go around quick? Sure. Like go make a car, or like go make a motorcycle is what I have. And it's just like the game is just, it has a really good sense of progression. And it looks to me, I've only played it for one session, but it looks to me like what the game's going to like lean on hard is the world looks like it's going to be more difficult. So we're in this area that's like quite literally on the map, like the kind of like the beginner zone. And it says, you know, this area is for level 1s, this area is level 15s, things like that. And I have the impression that that's where the challenge is going to come from. And it's not necessarily going to come from the survival aspect, which is honestly refreshing, because it's like, I'm not eating, you know, 90 steaks, and the steaks take like 10 minutes to get each. So I'm like running around trying to figure out how to get steaks and stuff. And it's a big mess. It's like, I actually go into a place, come out with like a shitload of loot, and like actually go back to the base and process it all and like build a cool little base. And, you can do a PvP server. I'm not doing that. I'm doing a PvE server. So that's why I said it's kind of like the Division Dark Zone, where like the Dark Zone had, you know, like certain buildings, like this metro, you go under there, there's like a, you know, some loot. This sort of like shut down, or well, obviously shut down Sierra Station. This apartment building has a couple of things to loot in it. Those sort of like POIs. But there's just no PvP in the server that I'm in. And there are quote unquote Fallout 76 level camps fucking everywhere. Like it's like I have like 8 neighbors, like I swear, like they're just littering the landscape. I don't know if that's going to be the case in the higher up, you know, level areas or whatever. Like I'm just at the beginning, but for a free to play game, super, super fun. Very pleasantly surprised. And I think that might be mostly it. Did a little bit of PGA 2K23, of course. And that's it. I think that's been my week.
Tim?
Not a ton, honestly. I like I said, I got the tablet this week, and I was kind of looking for some games, some like mobile stuff to try out on it, and I downloaded the like Elder Scrolls Castles game.
Yeah.
And I found it to be, it's like similar enough to Fallout Shelter, but it's like pretty overbearing with the like transaction stuff, I find. And it's also one of those games where like you're just supposed to like play it a little bit and then go about your day, and then play it a little bit, pull it back up every like, you know, for 15 minutes every, you know, whatever period of time passes during your day. And I think it's just that I'm not really looking for that kind of game right now. Like I just couldn't really get into it. I also found that it's very difficult to like tell which people are assigned to what because they just
Yes.
sort of all
Yes.
walk around your castle all the time.
Yes.
And it's like, do you have a job or are you just like hanging out in the kitchen? So that was like a major annoyance for me. And this is from like playing it for like half hour. So that's just kind of what stood out to me right away. So I'll probably give it a little bit more of a chance as I you know play it more and stuff. But right off the bat, I'm not like huge into it. And then like I said, I've been playing Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the Wii U on stream, and it's like it's a funny one because I I enjoy playing it when I'm playing it because of like mostly the nostalgia, I think, and it's kind of like a much slower paced game than like the modern ones because everything's much more intentional. Like you really need to prep a lot more before you go out on hunts. It's not as forgiving once you get out there. Like I found myself plenty of times I would like need to go out and collect a bunch of random account item drops that can come from like mining nodes or whatever. And I only went out with 3 pickaxes, and I just wasn't getting good luck on like the mining to like get these items that aren't necessarily super rare, but like, if it's not a 100% chance to get it every time you mine, you're not necessarily going to get it. And, sometimes you have really good luck and sometimes you have really bad luck. And, your pickaxes all just break before you get the like 8 items you need. And it's like, well, there's no going back to camp with like the items I have. I straight up failed the quest because of RNG. So I have to quit. I have to abandon the quest, go back to a say the last save before I took this quest, and then just like, come with a couple more pickaxes. Maybe if it really gets to it, bring items to craft more pickaxes while I'm out there, and then hope I get good RNG for like the item drops that I need. And it's just like it's a completely different experience from like modern Monster Hunter. Um, and while I do like that you can kind of go back and if you like want this style of gameplay where it's much more simulation, you like have to prep, you have to kind of do your research and see like what monster's weak to what, and to really help like min max your experience a little bit. Kind of glad they went away from that because it is pretty hard to go back to. I feel like it is pretty clunky too. Like it's the game was originally on the Wii. It was just ported to the Wii U and the 3DS. But if it had modern controls, if it had like the modern weapon types and controls and the quality of life improvements, like being able to see your upgrade paths for the weapons and stuff like that, without needing to like quite literally needing to consult a wiki. If you're like, okay, I'm trying to make this weapon, how do I get there? Without like experimenting. Those sorts of things, I feel like it would be a lot more enjoyable, but just giving the player a lot more ability to collect things in a reasonable amount of time and stuff like that would be nice. Not that it necessarily has to be more forgiving and stuff with like item drops or you needing to prep more before you go out. Just having some quality of life and more modern controls that are more intuitive would be really cool. But I don't think we'll ever get a game like this again. Which in my eyes isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I know some people who are like OG Monster Hunter fans will they really miss the old games because it is a very different vibe for sure.
Do you think they'd ever like re-release them? Like I know they re-released it from Wii to Wii U, but I mean on a modern spec, PS4, PS5, something like that.
Like just a port, you mean?
Yeah, because it's like yeah, just a port. Like I don't think they'd remaster and like kind of give it the whole treatment, but
Yeah.
Even a bundle where it's like, sorry, you're playing Try, right? So you're like it'd be like Try and then like what are the PSP ones? Freedom, I think.
Freedom Unite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that would be kind of cool. And then that's like the old school ones, and then it's just accessible because like chances are when we get a PS6, it'll be back compat type thing.
Yeah, because like you can't play these online anymore, right? Like you can't do group hunting. There might be some way if you have like a Wii U emulator and you have some sort of like modded internet or server hosting connection thing that way, like you might be able to do it.
PSP maybe even like with the Freedom, like 2 PSPs.
If you have the 3DS version, you could definitely still do like a local co-op, I think. But
Right.
yeah, for like the Wii U, you can't play online anymore, right? So, yeah, couldn't even play Monster Hunter 4 online anymore. You could only do local, I think. Actually, I don't even remember how it works. Even if you were local, did you still have to connect to the internet? I can't even remember.
But yeah, like
That's
it might need
long.
to authenticate or something, right?
But anyway, right? That would be the biggest thing, I think. It's like there's definitely still a market for the people that want to play this game. but they can't play it online anymore, which is like the big draw for Monster Hunter is to do co-op and stuff. And like for some of those end game hunts, like you can do them alone. They'll be miserable, but you can do them. And it's like it's much more fun to play it alone, right? Like or with other people than it is to play alone. But
we played one of them, right? Like one of the old ones. I can't remember now. It was one of the 3DS ones.
We might have played 4 or Ultimate. It would have either been 4 or Generations.
Because I remember
maybe we played 3 and you played it on your Wii U and I played it on my 3DS. I think that's what it would have been. It would have come over and we did it like local co-op.
Oh, holy fuck. I didn't know it was like cross multiplayer like that.
Yep. You could do Wii U and 3DS together.
That's kind of impressive, actually. I know it's like the Wii, so it's like the Wii versus like the 3DS XL. I don't know what the computational power is, but
yeah,
like man, that's kind of all right. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Just some OG, well, not really OG, just retro Monster Hunter.
I don't know what the power is of your tablet, but did you ever think about trying Diablo Immortal?
It's funny you mention that. I did download it and tried to pick up my character that I was playing on my phone when I like blasted through that first season and only hit the max level of the season like 2 hours before it ended.
Yeah.
And then put it down and never played it again. So I did try playing that character again a little bit and just immediately got super overwhelmed. And I was like, yeah, I kind of remembering why I stopped playing Diablo Immortal.
Yeah. It's kind of the case with all those kind of games that are like shared world kind of MMO light kind of games. Like you jump back in after years and it's like, what's all this stuff everywhere? What is all this? And it's just like, I know, I'm done. But as for myself, been playing the heck out of Star Wars Outlaws, but still on the home planet, still on the starter planet. I don't know.
That's crazy, right? Isn't it?
Maybe. Maybe it's crazy.
Are you crazy, bro?
I'm having a blast. I don't know what people were talking about. I don't know why people hate it. I think it might just be Ubisoft fatigue. But I would even say this game does not feel like a Ubisoft game to me. Sure, it has a bunch of like little side quests you can get, but that's every kind of game. But there's no like towers that unlock the map, and your map isn't covered in icons. It's just do what you want, really. And I'm just having a great time. It looks like Star Wars. I don't know how they captured it, but putting the letterboxing on it really kind of helped sell it. And I also saw this pointed out on Threads. Someone was saying how like somehow it just captures a sense of scale. If you like just look out on the horizon when you're like a little high up, it's just like holy crap. Like it looks like a real vista and not just like how like the mountains are like in Skyrim, like they're big mountains, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're not to scale of what a mountain would actually be.
Yeah.
Because you can climb it in 10 minutes instead of hours. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But in this game, you look off in the distance, like that's a big ass mountain over there. Yeah. So it's a gorgeous game if it's running well. I'm excited to see if it has a PS5 Pro patch.
How like modern AC is it? Like how like let's say AC Odyssey, where AC Odyssey you'd be like running around and there's tons of cities and like big fucking cities to the point where you'd be like running around a big mountain. It would take you like 10 minutes to like go around like part of the circumference. You get to the back and you're like, there's a whole fucking metropolis back here. Like, holy fuck. It's like this huge fucking city back there. And it's not even part of the story. Just somebody built a city, I guess, that friggin' Ubisoft. Like
it's not like that. The world is worth exploring. I'm finding a lot of cool little things out there. It also feels very dynamic when things are happening. Like sometimes you'll hear on the radio, like the Empire is like, we're launching a strike team to go take back our stolen supplies. And then you'll see a freaking Lambda class shuttle fly over your head, right? And go off to some like camp somewhere. And you can follow them. And there'll be like a big blaster shootout between stormtroopers and these raiders. And then you can decide to like, kill everyone and then take all the supplies or sneak around and get the supplies while they're fighting and whatnot. So it's very cool. I'm having a blast. And I'm surprised to see how many people were like kind of disgusted by the game. Like Greg Miller gave it a 4 out of 10 or whatever. It's like, that's insanely harsh for what is I think a normal game,
Yeah. I mean, Donkey released a video that was fairly like harsh on it too. And
he hates Ubisoft, a lot of
he has a lot of glitches and stuff, and a lot of people go to his videos to find out what their opinions are on a video game. So
yeah,
that probably had a lot to do with it as well.
But he hates Ubisoft. I've seen a lot of his videos where he's just dunking on them. I mean, no pun intended, but
dunking on them.
Yeah.
Oh. Ner.
So I mean, other than that, that's about it. That's it for me. Do you guys want to return to an old segment?
Oh man.
All right.
What porno game is trending on Steam?
That's absolutely not what I thought. I thought we were doing like a query corner or something. I was like, it's not that old.
but this one might be. I don't know if I've done this in a while. Okay, this is literally on the homepage of Steam in the new and trending section.
Hell yeah.
Radiant Victorious. Now, the immediate description doesn't sound that bad. With Kingdom Arsilla left in ruins, Wolf, the Prince of Arsilla, embarks on a journey around the world where he teams up with 8 heroines and tries to stop the Empire's ambition. Okay?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And what is that ambition? Is this a euphemism for?
No, the Empire is trying to destroy something. So
Yeah.
it goes on. The Empire threw the world into chaos when it seized the Era and the Orb, 2 mighty artifacts of mythical origin. Its savage armies lay waste to your home, the Holy Kingdom Arsilla. With his kingdom left in ruins, Wolf, the Prince of Arsilla, is on a quest to team up with 8 heroines from across the world and try to stop the Empire's ambitions. Do battle, travel, and get intimate with all the heroines, each with their unique stories. Now, it lists all 8 and gives a little short description of each of them.
Is it like a graphic novel game?
No, it kind of looks like an old school Final Fantasy kind of RPG kind of
top-down RPG kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
8 fully voiced heroines to get intimate with, both in the field and in bed.
I like how it's always like they only talk about the heroines in the context of you can fuck them. Like it's not like they got good stories, thoughtful dialogue, develop your relationship as you process your shared traumas or whatever. It's fuck them.
So here's the 8 heroines: Eleonora, a mage and Wolf's childhood friend.
There's always the friend. Yep.
Cattleya, a tough female knight. Cindy, a gentle but lustful nun.
Whoa, excuse me.
You got Matt's attention. Woke up like a sleeper agent.
Yeah. Julia, a wild and powerful Amazon.
The fuck?
Chris, a cunning merchant who isn't what she seems.
Ooh.
Celine, a powerful sage with a motherly air.
You're going to say a powerful sage that is a mixture of salt and water.
And this is my favorite one. Mimi, an older sister-like girl in a cow print bikini.
And a cow print bikini.
Why does
Is she the fucking DLC?
Her personality is that she wears a cow print bikini.
The other ones are like a bit of backstory or whatever, a bit of description. No, this is a girl in cow print bikini.
She's the DLC, man. She's the pre-order bonus.
And then finally, Eve, a lewd genius that needs punishment.
What the fuck?
Oh, okay. It's just going down. All right.
Radiant Victorious has characters and fetishes for every taste: sex toys, group sex, milking, femdom, cream pies, and so much more.
Great big dirty milkers, Tim.
There
Should
you
all
go.
be yours for the one simple price of.
Oh, you want the price?
$8.95.
It's currently on sale.
Oh yeah.
Starting price of $19.49, on sale for $17.54.
Holy, a steal.
At twice the price.
Less than $10 per milker.
System requirements: Windows 10, Intel Core i5, 8 gigabytes of RAM, graphics OpenGL support. So you just need OpenGL support, and
You need graphics card.
you're off to the races here.
Is that even integrated graphics can run that?
And 1.6 gigabytes of available space. So
Damn,
this game
no.
can be yours.
Can't
It's on the
happen.
Steam, trending right now, baby.
It's trending.
I only do porno games from the new and trending on Steam.
Listen,
I'm
I'm
not
a very
just-
discerning individual, all right?
Well, I'm not just bringing up random porno games here.
No, I know.
These are the new and trending list. It's on the homepage of Steam. Porno games.
How could it not be?
All
I've
right.
never heard anyone like desperately scream porno games like they're
Porno
trying to get
games. Remember, you can now hide your what you're playing on Steam. So
Oh,
Twitter also hides your likes now, so you can like all the nudie posts
there you go.
as much as you want.
All right. Tim, where can they watch you not streaming porno games?
Well,
Because that would get you
you say
banned
that
from
for
Twitch.
now, but
couple of
You're gonna
monster
have to-
milkers
you're
in
gonna
that
have
one.
to find a
Monster
a new
milkers.
platform, Tim.
hey, it's more likely than you think. Twitch.tv/the sidetrack, where we are currently playing Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I finished the low rank story today, which I thought was like the only story for the single player, but I guess it continues into high rank for a while. I guess it's just the master rank stuff, or the G rank in the older games, what they call it, that is the online lobby stuff, the Tanzia port or whatever they call it. That's multiplayer only. You can't do single player G rank. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep going with that because I thought I finished the story, finished the first arc, I guess, of the single player story. But yeah, we'll see. It's been fun going down memory lane if you're into the old Monster Hunter stuff. One thing I really wish I could do, I wish that Monster Hunter 4 had a Wii U port. I wish there was like a console, a 1080p version of Monster Hunter 4, because I would love to play through Monster Hunter 4 again. I really like the story, but it's 3DS only, so graphically it doesn't look super great. But I mean, gameplay wise, it would work better than Monster Hunter 3.
Man, even Monster Hunter Stories got like a re-release and then like a sequel on the consoles. Like I wish.
Yeah.
I kind of want that bundle now that I was talking about.
Yeah, if they did a port of Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate on the Switch that you could play online on Switch servers, I would buy that in a heartbeat and I'd play the shit out of it. I would love to play Monster Hunter 4 again.
Could you stream porno games on Twitch if you were in a hot tub?
No.
Wait, but if you were not in a hot tub, it'd be okay?
Well, no, that was just it was a joke just because like they didn't want you in a bikini. But then they said you could be in a bikini if you stream in the new category, hot tub streams.
Oh, so you're saying could you stream a porno game in the hot tub category?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess as long as they weren't naked, if they were in just like cow print bikinis, maybe that would be okay.
The cow print bikinis. Yeah, there you go. You can watch us streaming Halo Infinite, which has been rather enjoyable. You missed a good time, Tim. It was we had fun once we got down to the Halo ring.
Tim was there for like most of it.
Not when we were on the ring, jumping around, fighting bosses.
Oh, we were just like doing the side stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. I had a really good time.
It was a big day yesterday.
So you can watch us stream that on twitch.tv/DayOnePatchMedia, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, sometimes later.
Sometimes earlier.
Sometimes, very rarely.
Sometimes right now.
What?
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Yo, peace!